Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Or good evening to Shani in Israel. It's there. Welcome to day 2.
Welcome back, everyone. Or welcome if this is your first time joining us. Hopefully you're able to watch the recording if you missed yesterday's.
Hi, Catherine. Hi, Kathy. Went to bed at 8 p.m. and got up at 3 a.m., then back to bed at 5 a.m. and got up at 8 a.m. That's a lot of sleep. That's good. Hi, Beverly. Hi, Deborah.
Hello.
Hi, Colette.
Hi, Michael. So many familiar faces. This is great. Hi, Brenda. Wow. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Linda.
All right, we are going to get started here in just a few moments. Waiting for everyone to get on here.
Hi, Pam. Hi, Lori. Hi, Martha. Thanks for joining us from Nebraska. Hi, Dr. Zale Atley. Good to have you.
Hi, Dr. Newball from Florida.
Gosh, everybody's from all over. This is so great. We're so excited to have you for day 2 of the Happy Heart Diet, the FastTrack weekend. Ashley, are we ready to start the slideshow?
We are ready.
Okay.
I'm going to upload the sunshine schedule again for everyone too. So if you weren't able to grab that yesterday, that's going to be under the offers throughout our presentation today. So make sure you grab that, download it. It's a PDF kind of explaining what we're working on for these 3 days.
So welcome to day 2. How are you guys feeling? Were you able to, abstain from eating after dinner last night? Maybe go to bed a little bit earlier. We're so happy you're with us and back for day 2, and we're ready to jump in. Today we want to give you specific strategies for the Happy Heart Diet and the sunshine schedule, and fill you in on why this way of eating is so effective. All right.
Oh, Ashley, you might be muted.
I was going to say, I'll disable the chat again so we can go through the PowerPoint, and then we'll re-enable it once we begin. Okay. So for those of you who were here yesterday, we spoke about the sunshine schedule. We introduced it to you guys. And for those of you, again, who are new today, this is what we are sharing with you. This is our plan of attack. And Christina has uploaded that as the infographic. It's also in the Facebook group, The Natural Heart Doctor. This is your new meal timing schedule. So again, as a recap, this means that you're going to be eating during daylight hours only. We introduced the idea yesterday for you to all skip dinner today. That was the goal. So hopefully you guys will be joining us for the challenge. It is a super easy trick to encourage you to stop eating earlier in the day before the sun goes down. This is how we are able to get the body on a new meal timing schedule versus condensing meals, more meals in a shorter eating window. So we want to make it stick, and we want to have some good results. And this is the sunshine schedule.
So we can have times when our circadian rhythm or that internal clock is disrupted. And this can be either from too little sleep, too much sleep, high amounts of stress, or too much screen time, or traveling. It might be normal for this to happen sometimes, resulting in maybe a sluggish day or a bad mood or overeating a little bit. However, when it happens consistently, we have some pretty serious long-term effects. So when your circadian rhythm is disrupted, the short term is that your sleep is thrown off, your digestive system is not as effective. You might be in a more higher stress state, your heart rate variability might have gone down. But you have this sort of improper building of proteins and communications between neurons. So it really impacts the brain, especially. The long-term effects of that are cardiovascular disease, which is why we're talking about this so much. So having this disordered circadian rhythm for a long time really can lead to cardiovascular disease. It also causes obesity. So when we talk about weight loss in the new year and how we're going to lose weight, it's pretty crazy how having your circadian rhythm disrupted could mean all the difference in that 15 pounds you just put on, or the 15 pounds you can't get off, or whatever it is, or just feeling like you can never shift that number, or having a really hard time with different dietary plans. If you're not sleeping or your circadian rhythm is off in some way, this could be playing a huge role for you. It's also why I think a lot of people are willing to do a lot of dietary changes, but they just are not willing to go to sleep earlier or find a way to get their circadian rhythm in balance. And so it's kind of having to look at an adjustment there of what is this worth to you, because this is really impacting your body. Long term, the literature has shown us that it's also linked to depression and bipolar disorder. And this just sort of makes sense. It just makes sense what our bodies need, and what our bodies have been programmed to do for thousands of years. We need light, we need sleep, we need to be eating like our ancestors.
So many of you may have heard of the dieting advice to eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. And this is actually really relevant as pertaining to the research that we are seeing on this topic. You can see here in the upper right-hand corner, timing of food intake predicts weight loss effectiveness. So actually eating your last meal before 3 p.m. has been shown to increase overall weight loss. An intake of energy-dense food at night, this promotes rapid fat deposition. And in relation to this, meal consumption at night also demonstrates impairment of lipid and glucose tolerance in view of hormonal disturbances in the metabolism. So this is what Carrington was referring to, is we know that this is affecting the way our metabolism functions and the efficiency of things. And this study published in the International Journal of Obesity builds on these previous studies that suggest it's best to not eat too many calories late in the day. And it's found that dieters who ate their main meal before 3 p.m. lost significantly more weight than those who ate later in the day. And this held true even though the early eaters were eating roughly the same number of calories during the 5-month weight loss study as their night owl counterparts were. So ironically, there really is no scientific basis for the current 3 meals a day plus snacks eating pattern that most people are accustomed to. So for the majority of human history, people ate 1 or 2 meals per day. And this is why there are immense benefits to time-restricted eating patterns like the 16-8 intermittent fasting pattern a lot of you might have tried or are familiar with, or 1 meal a day, OMAD eating. That's a really common one too. And all of these are meant to mimic these ancient patterns of eating that really align with our biology and our metabolism best. And during periods without food, the body has evolved to tap into our fat stores for energy. So there is a reason that we store fat. It's not just put there for no apparent reason. Our body puts it there so that it can tap into those stores when it's needed. And there is some research that shows this capability makes us metabolically and nutritionally flexible, which means that you are able to maintain a sporadic diet just like our ancestors would have been. And this slide also says insulin is most sensitive in the morning, which is released in response to meals to push glucose into the cells for use as energy. And the sensitivity of your insulin decreases later in the day to prepare for rest. So this is part of this whole phenomena.
So what will we do for weight loss? Can you actually practice something that makes it actually easier to maintain and makes you consistently lose weight or manage your weight? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. And this is the study in the International Journal of Obesity, and it was published in July of 2019. So really, really recent here. And from in this study, the participants ate from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And by eating this early time restricted feeding schedule, they were able to reduce their appetite and increase their fat oxidation, which led to predictable weight loss. And so some other points in the study, they said that they had decreased mean ghrelin levels. Now, this is your hunger hormone. Ghrelin rises when you normally eat. It's the hormone signal that tells your brain you're hungry and it's time to eat. And people can have ghrelin resistance, just like insulin resistance. If you're always sort of overeating, you can develop ghrelin resistance. And so this can be a problem when you go to try to lose weight or change your habits. You're just always hungry. And so what they found in the study is that when they shifted people to this earlier time restricted eating, that the mean level of their ghrelin went down. Eating this way made hunger more even keeled, so they didn't have no hangry moments or big blood sugar spikes, leaving them feeling shaky or needing to eat to feel okay. They tended to increase fullness. So that's leptin, actually, which is the other part of that cycle that tells your body that you're full, that you're satiated. So they increased their fullness, so they didn't eat as much. This means that the leptin improved, and the hormone signals, that satiation hormone, improved. And we are always trying to improve that hormonal signaling. So we put a lot of focus on caloric intake, and people are really missing the key components that eating and digestion and weight is really a hormonal process, and it's actually controlled by circadian rhythm. So they decreased also their desire to eat. So you might think that this kind of restriction leaves you starving or begging for food, but the researchers found it to be the opposite. And they also had an increased metabolic flexibility. What that means is that their body became more efficient at switching from glucose to fatty acids for energy. And you want this. You want your body to be able to easily switch to burning your stored fat in times of fasting and be efficient at it.
Okay, so kind of another aspect that we're really excited to introduce to you guys, it's a medical benefit, would be autophagy. So fasting in general, again, as we've been discussing, is a healthy lifestyle, okay? So it's informed by human evolution and really kind of the study of human metabolism. Fasting asks the body to be much more efficient and self-protective than it's used to being in modern times. So recent research in the sciences has shown that this pattern of eating, meaning fasting and feasting, has major health benefits, like we've discussed: reduced inflammation, improved heart health, slowed aging, so kind of longevity factors, and sustainable weight loss, meaning you lose the weight, but you also keep it off. There's many things that happen when we fast that either don't happen when we're always in a fed state, so we're always eating, or that happen really slowly in the background, so it might not be that efficient. When we are in a fasting mode, our bodies reacts to what it sees as an environmental type of stress. So it kind of perceives it as a stress when there's no food available for the body, but it's a good type of stress that actually comes in. It changes the expression of your genes, and it starts to protect you from stress in general. So it makes your body more resilient and stronger. Fasting actually signals your cells to go into a self-protective mode, activating this process called autophagy. So autophagy is kind of a complicated word, but it was coined first by a biochemist over 40 years ago. And it means auto means self and phagy means to eat. So it literally translates to the eating of the self or the eating of the cell. Basically what it does is it's a housekeeping process. So just like we clean our homes on a regular basis, we also want to clean our cells on a regular basis. So it starts to break down damaged cellular components, and it replaces them, the worn out, broken down ones, with newer, healthier, more resilient parts. So it actually makes your cells stronger and healthier. So there's a lot that happens when you don't take in any calories. Autophagy in the body starts to happen after 17 hours of fasting, so it's easily achievable. This process of autophagy plays a key role, they've found, in preventing diseases like cancer, neurodegenerative diseases, heart failure, diabetes, heart disease, liver disease, autoimmune disease, and even infection. So it's actually even protective against colds and flus.
And this is why your heart is happy fasting. This is why we are a cardiologist health coaches here talking to you guys about this today, and why it's very relevant, especially for the people that we work with and help, is because it really makes your heart happy. Fasting is a reset for the heart and the body. So if we are always eating and snacking, digestion takes precedence over all of the other processes in the body. And digestion is incredibly hard for the body. So this is where fasting comes in. It is a break for the body to abstain from food, where the body can begin to fine-tune other biochemical processes and actually work on healing things. So just like Ashley was referring to, this is that autophagy benefit. So this is where that cellular cleanup really starts to begin, and a lot of this magic of healing starts to take its effect. Fasting reduces cardiac risk factors. So intermittent fasting has been shown to improve numerous cardiac risk factors like blood pressure, inflammation, blood triglyceride levels, cholesterol levels, and blood sugar levels. So it has also been shown to improve cardiomyopathy and heart rate variability, which this is why it is a very effective dietary therapy for our cardiovascular health and for heart health. This is why it makes our heart so happy. And fasting promotes heart health and overall longevity. So intermittent fasting with designated times of not eating is exactly what your heart and body needs to really be healthy. Those hours that you fast really build up over long periods of time and provide all of these amazing benefits. And this is something we're going to dive in further to in our 21-day program. These studies on the right, you can see, which are extremely fascinating. Some of the research coming out on fasting, intermittent fasting lifestyle, and human longevity in cardiac catheterization population. So actually finding out that these populations of people who have undergone cardiac catheterization are living longer if they are incorporating intermittent fasting into their protocol. And then the second one there, intermittent fasting lifestyle and incidence of heart failure and myocardial infarction in cardiac catheterization patients. So these are really fascinating new studies coming out pertaining to heart health and how fasting can improve this.
So after our challenge for today of simply skipping dinner, we are going to challenge you all a bit more tomorrow. So last night you didn't eat after 8 p.m. Today you're going to actually stop eating after 3 p.m. Or for you, if that might be a little bit later, like maybe you normally eat really late, like 8 or 9 p.m., it might be a little bit longer. But basically after lunch, we want you to stop eating and to be fasting for dinner. And but tomorrow we're going to get really serious here, a real big challenge. Tomorrow you're going to skip lunch and dinner. So that means that you're going to have one meal for the whole day. It might be a little bit, if you wanted to push back breakfast a little bit later in the morning, you can do that. Or if you wanted to just have it in the morning and then you're fasting for the rest of the day, I promise that you can do this. So this restricts your meal for one meal a day. And the benefits of that one meal a day are increased focus and productivity. So the brain is really kind of getting this uptake of what's called ketones from burning that fat in your body. And it really helps bring some energy to the brain. At the 17-hour mark is when autophagy, like Ashley was talking about, begins. So you're going to get that. And at 24 hours is when inflammation is markedly decreased and stem cell production in the gut begins. So even just one day where you go from dinner to dinner, basically, where you are fasting for most of the day, you're going to get all of those amazing results. So weight loss. So not only is it impossible to be in an energy surplus with this style of fasting, But it is significantly, it increases the efficiency of the body's ability to burn that stored fat as a primary energy source. So we have this combination of decreased caloric intake with our circadian rhythm, timing, and insulin sensitivity, with your body becomes more efficient at burning all that stored fat that you have. So it's a very effective strategy for weight loss. When you're getting energy from food, this is called a fed state. And when you're getting energy, your energy from the body fat, the stuff you have stored, this is called a fasted state. So the insulin and glucagon control this process. And these, again, it's a hormonal process. So we talk a lot about in nutrition science about caloric deficit and moving more than you eat and things like that, but it's really a hormonal process that controls how we store fat on our bodies.
Okay, so with that in mind, with it being that kind of hormonal process, our goal is to keep that insulin hormone low with diet. So when insulin remains low, it means we're kind of in this fasting or fasting mimicking state. Again, as a recap, our pancreas secretes insulin in response to food. So whether that's carbohydrates, protein, fat, to some degree, insulin acts on that, and it shuttles, right, that fuel or that energy into your cells. So it regulates your blood sugar. And our focus is on controlling insulin. So kind of in today's society, our bodies really aren't used to our bodies are, but like our body isn't used to handling such a quick hit of energy or food, because for most of history, we didn't have easy access to quick foods like snacks, cookies, chips, all those easily accessible processed foods. So this constant access that we as humans have today to quick food puts us in to that fed state, as Carrington referred to, but it's like a fed state on steroids, and it's all due to that insulin hormone. So insulin is constantly spiking every time we're snacking or taking a bite of food. And if we constantly are eating, then our body has an abundant amount of energy available, and it only burns that energy that we're consuming. So it's not actually mobilizing and using our stored fat in our cells. And because we as humans have kind of been conditioned to eat like this, where we're eating more frequently, smaller meals, we're snacking, then we're kind of stuck in a fed state where insulin is remaining high all day long. And so that doesn't allow us, again, to burn stored fat for fuel. And it's really important to note, when you're in this state, you can't successfully lose the weight and keep it off. So insulin, therefore, is really central, right, to weight, to obesity, to kind of being in an overweight state. And insulin, again, is instructing our cells to make stored fat, essentially. Simply put, it stores fat. And so if we know what ramps up our body's insulin production, it's a much more helpful tool for weight loss than counting calories. And so the focus, therefore, is that when we are eating, when we're in that feasting window, again, we want to keep insulin down with low-carb paleo. So how do we do this? Our biggest focus is high fat. Of the 3 macronutrients, fat is the least likely to spike your insulin hormone. This means that dietary fat, the good kind, is not actually fattening, but it's actually protective. It keeps insulin low, regulates your blood sugar, and kind of keeps you in a mainly fasting mode, we say. Next up is moderate protein. So consume a moderate amount of protein to really boost satiety, or that feeling of being full. And last but not least is going on a low-carb paleo diet. It's really kind of the best way to reduce insulin and keep blood sugar balanced.
So we wanted to give you guys some tips of what to do when you don't feel good. So if this is your first time fasting, which I actually think for most of you it's not, it sounds like from a lot of the comments in the chat that a lot of you have dabbled with fasting before, so you might be familiar with some of these tips, but we wanted to share them that you guys have these in your back pocket in case you start to get headachy or anything like that can sometimes commonly happen when you first start fasting. So first and foremost, be sure to drink enough quality water, so especially with minerals in it, daily, so you're supporting your fast. Hydration is definitely going to be your best friend throughout any fast. So any style of fast you're doing, make sure you are drinking enough fluids and make sure those fluids have minerals in them. Because without minerals, water is not easily absorbed and utilized by our cells. So make sure you are ensuring minerals by either adding them in, or if you have a water system like the Pristine Hydro, which does add those minerals back in, that is even better. And there are unflavored mineral additives that you can purchase. We have one from the same company who makes our water system Pristine Hydro. It's called Electrolyte Balance. So you can get that on our website. We can share a link to that in the chat later on too. Or you can sip on Pellegrino mineral water throughout the day. This is one of our favorite life hacks for everyone. Pellegrino water, not only is it super tasty, but it also provides a lot of minerals and electrolytes and sulfur, which is a great precursor to glutathione production. So we love our Pellegrino water. And supplementing with the most important mineral, magnesium, is also a game changer for fasting. So this will help to ensure cellular mineral balance and reduce symptoms like headaches. And relaxation is going to be your other best friend. So not only to maintain a very efficient parasympathetic state, so your parasympathetic nervous system, which is that rest and digest state that we are also trying to encourage while fasting, this is going to be really important to also add in relaxation tactics. So take a magnesium bath, with some Epsom salt in there. Do some meditation or some breathing exercises, anything like that, especially later in the day, again, to get yourself a little more prepared for bedtime and rest. That is really going to help your body reset these circadian patterns. And when you are not eating, you must be doing something else. So why not take some much needed rest and relaxation time to yourself during this time that you would otherwise be eating? Light some non-toxic beeswax candles around your bathtub, make it a little ritual for yourself, add in these Epsom salts, sit back and soak and relax. And this is going to be your new little nighttime, maybe in place of eating ritual, which can be really effective also for getting those minerals
in. So as health coaches helping patients to manage their stress, this is a huge part of what we do. We cannot separate our physical health from our mental and emotional health. While you are joining us for this challenge, we want to make sure and check in with you on this. How stressed are you? We have kind of a very stressful situation going on that we're all in right now. And we have the new year, everyone's trying to make these changes. Check in with how stressed you're feeling. Do you feel overwhelmed? Does it feel overwhelming to kind of make these changes? This kind of stress state will kind of really impact you. So we want to kind of check in with that. Because it can hold you back from all these positive changes you're trying to make. So we want to extend this friendly sort of reminder to check in with yourself today on this. If you're feeling stressed, it's time to do something about this. Use this challenge to not only encourage you to change your eating habits, but also your allowance for feeling overwhelmed by stress in your life. So you can incorporate some things like meditation, doing some deep breathing exercises, journaling. These are actually similar to what Christina said. These are actually great things to do when you're not eating. One of the biggest challenges, and maybe tonight you won't notice it, but maybe definitely tomorrow, going most of the day without eating, is that you get bored. It's like, what are we bored? But we often eat when we're bored, or just to fill time, or even just the lack of having to prepare food and cook and do all those things. It just leaves us with a lot more time in our day. And that can actually be the hardest time, especially when you go into very extended fasting, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. So fill that time with some stress relieving and parasympathetic activities like the ones you see here. So maybe you exercise, you get active, removing some daily stress triggers. And if you're hungry and having a hard time or feeling stressed, go to bed early. Go to bed as early as you can.
All right. So the big question that we always kind of get asked is, am I going to die if I skip a meal? The short answer from the three of us is no. And here is why. So we've talked about it. I think we talked about it in day one, and we're kind of bringing this theme back in. But again, this is how our ancestors ate. This concept of fasting and feasting is in sync with our evolutionary biology. It's what our bodies thrive with. Our bodies do much better when we're feasting and then fasting. This is how we were made to function optimally. Fasting, again, is a good type of stress on our bodies that in turn makes our bodies and our cells more strong, more resilient, and fends off chronic disease. Think about it this way. You would die much faster from a lack of sleep than from a lack of food, and yet we don't fear death when we miss a few hours of sleep. So start to become comfortable is, I think, what we really want to get across with skipping meals or skipping snacking. Get comfortable with that. Shift your mindset. Prepare your brain for this new structured way of eating. It actually ends up being a lot easier because you get really good structure from this. One great tip is just to write down your goals. What do you want to achieve with this? And write down your strict kind of fasting and feasting windows. Put them on Post-it notes. Post them on your fridge, by your bedstand, in your office. Keep yourself motivated with the win and the why. And just expect in the beginning, if you're new to this, that your creative brain may come up with reasons why you should not continue or why you might not be the right type of person who can fast. But you'll be shocked with how easily our brains come up with a reason why we may be unsafe in new situations like fasting. We work with this a lot with our patients. And so we just ask that you're on this journey with us, trust us, feel free to ask us questions. You can Google really good fasting videos. We have a lot of great blog posts on it. And just reassure yourself that you're safe and that this is for your health.
So yeah, just like Ashley was saying, we don't need to be afraid of this. You're not going to die if you eat a couple less meals in one day. And in fact, you could even sustain this long-term with no issues. So this is what we're really kind of trying to prep you guys for with the mindset tools, with the tools for, restructuring your day around this. We're going to try and really help you guys implement this into your lifestyle for long-term health effects. And we want you to be successful with it. So the biggest hurdle is to convince yourself that you can do it. And once you have survived this, once, maybe twice, then maybe even a third time, your body will start to realize that this is completely okay. Your mind will agree that it's completely okay. So there will be this, perfect harmonious moment where everything comes together. So just have faith in that. We're here to reassure you that everything's going to be fine. And something like I mentioned yesterday is to just create a list of, 10 to 20 activities you could be doing besides eating. And trust me, our patients have created lists with up to 90 activities they could be doing instead. So this is a great thing to refer to when you can't stop thinking about food. If that happens, it's your normal time of eating dinner and it's just, gnawing away at your brain. You're like, I really want to eat something. I want to go to the pantry. Just grab your list and go do something right then and there. It could be something like, knitting or going and working on a craft, or maybe you want to go watch a YouTube video that you had on a list of things resources that you were interested in, or maybe go read a blog post, or maybe you go read a good book. There are literally endless options for activities that you could be doing instead of eating. So trust me, once you start writing things down, you'll be like, wow, there are a lot of other things that I could be working on. And then the other thing is to plan what you will eat for your one meal. So when we are doing things like 1 meal a day fasting, which we, definitely want to kind of introduce you guys into for tomorrow, this meal will ideally be earlier in the day and not late at night. So hopefully by now you guys understand, the importance of eating our bigger meals earlier in the day. So that's really the concept of this. We want to make sure that one meal is earlier in the day for that reason. And this meal should ideally contain a healthy dose of healthy fats. So think animal fats, grass-fed, grass-finished, organic, pasture-raised animal fats are really, really great, high in omega-3s, avocado, olive oil, monounsaturated fatty acids, nuts and seeds, coconut oil, lots of those paleo-friendly healthy fats. and a moderate serving of high quality protein. So one of our pro tips for you guys is to use wild caught seafood like salmon, which is going to, check all those boxes for you. It'll keep you full, and it's chock full of anti-inflammatory omega-3s, fatty acids to enhance your heart health and the fasting benefits. So while we are fasting, we are really trying to reduce inflammation in the body, and having a diet rich in omega-3 fatty acids is really going to help us kind of capitalize on that benefit. And really think about vegetables. So get some healthy seasonal produce in the meal as well. We like to recommend, more low carbohydrate cruciferous vegetables, which are going to enhance kind of more a fat adapted ability of your body. Because again, we are trying to keep this lower carbohydrate paleo. And this will also keep you fuller to avoid kind of loading your plate with other carbs like potatoes or pasta. Hopefully those aren't anywhere near your plate for these 3 days, but just in case, really load up on those vegetables, which are going to keep you full with plenty of fiber.
And I just want to also say, yesterday a lot of you were asking about recipes. You can find some paleo recipes on our website. We have a lot. There's even a lot of cookbooks and things that you can opt into on the website. But also tomorrow we're going to be talking about the Happy Heart Diet program if you want to get in that. So we can't unfortunately pack that much into 3 days here. So we're trying to keep it simple with this concept. And like we talked about yesterday, just baby steps, doing this one switch will make a big change. But if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to eat, like they laid it out like that, but like I need someone to just tell me what to eat, like show me exactly what to eat. Don't worry, we've got a plan for you, and we're going to talk about it more tomorrow. So do your best with some recipes on the website today, and then we will tell you how to go forward from there. But one of the biggest questions we get, or something that a lot of patients ask us, is what about supplements? For the most part, you are able to stop supplements during your fasted period. Even for a few days, you should be okay. So there's caveats to that, of course, but Dr. Wolfson is okay with that when we talk about it with our patients. So obviously this is going to have to be something you consult your doctor about, and you take that advice. But for our patients, we will stop their supplements for a few days if we go into an extended fast. However, if you're going to be doing the sunshine schedule, and maybe some days you do 1 meal a day, some days you do 2 meals a day, you might have to get pretty experienced at adjusting your supplements to be inside that eating window. And sometimes that eating window is pretty small. So kind of figuring out what you can eat, what you can't. Maybe some days you're skipping some of those supplements for that one day that you're doing the 1 meal a day, things like that. And now, what we like to do is talk about just here are some supplements you can take during a fasted window. So let's say you were doing 1 meal a day and you had supplements or medication in the morning, and then normally you would have it in the evening. Now, the things on the left-hand side here, the things that are things you can continue during the fasted state. So water-soluble vitamins like B vitamins and vitamin C, minerals, so magnesium, potassium, sodium, those would be actually excellent to keep taking during a fasted state. Antioxidants like ginger, resveratrol, garlic, green tea, people have these kind of in a supplement form. Those would be okay to take. Herbs and certain medications where you don't need food to take the medication. Now, the supplements you do want to avoid would be your fat-soluble vitamins, A, E, D, and K. Also, you don't have to, a lot of people only take those sometimes a couple of times a week or once a week. You'll see people take a large dose of vitamin D once a week versus every day. Fat solubles stay stored in the fat, so you don't have to be consuming them every day. So that's an easy way we can kind of get around fasting with those. Amino acids, so this would be your protein powders, your branched chain amino acids. They would also include isolated amino acids like an L-citrulline or L-carnitine or things like that. Those are from protein, and they would break your fast. So fatty acids, so this would be from like fish oil or evening primrose oil or flax oil. These are things to avoid, and food-based supplements. So like our beetroot powder and greens powder, if you have organs or glandulars, I mean, this is basically food. So we're going to stop the food during the fasted state, right? So those are things that you have to avoid. So definitely check with your doctor about medications. There might be, you might be unable to do the things we're talking about today because of certain things, but you might be able to adjust it in other ways. Maybe instead of fasting 1 meal a day, you're just shortening your eating window to 6 hours, or you just for sure stick to what we practiced last night, which is not eating after dinner. There's just ways that you can adjust it. So know that it's not like if you don't do it completely, as we say, that there's not going to be any benefit. There is. Do the best that you can. And so these are kind of some general rules to stick to.
Okay, so some questions that we had been getting was kind of, again, making this work for individuals, making it fit into their busy lifestyles for work and other kind of schedules. We know that maybe some of what we're proposing could seem crazy, such as going to bed when the sun goes down. It might be really extreme for you. It's actually something that Dr. Wolfson and his family have practiced for years. However, again, we know that depending on your work schedule, your children, where you live, it could be a major adjustment that's just not fully possible. So exposure to sunlight is thought to increase the brain's release of a hormone called serotonin. Now, serotonin is the mood-boosting hormone, essentially. It helps people feel calm. It helps them feel focused. So we want that during the day. At night, having dark lighting, right, not exposure to artificial lights or fluorescent lights, that dark lighting, the dark, triggers our brain to make another hormone called melatonin. And melatonin is responsible for helping you get to sleep and stay asleep. So our goal with all that we're offering is essentially to encourage awareness around your body's internal clock, looking at your schedule, making sure that you're in sync with circadian rhythm to the best that you're able to be, and see if there's anything that you can do to adjust or improve it to be closer and in balance with circadian rhythm. So here's some other tips that we have for you guys today to really make this sunshine schedule work for you. First off, if you can't go to bed with the sun when it goes down and rise when the sun comes up, just try to pick the same time to go to bed and wake up every day. Consistency here is key. Also, really try to ensure plenty of sunshine exposure throughout the day. When you wake up, expose your eyes to the sun. In the afternoon, take a lunch break or a phone call outside. In the evening, maybe go for a walk. Try to get all the different types of rays of the sun and be exposed throughout the day. This enhances the benefits of circadian rhythm, especially if you're unable to go to sleep earlier. And last but not least, if you are working later in the evening and you're not home when your last meal is scheduled, pack it with you. This is another thing that we work a lot with coaching with clients, is that we try to troubleshoot that. So pack it with you. Prepare meals on a Sunday for the whole week. This should be a smaller meal so it's not too troublesome to prepare in advance. Or again, have a major meal prep on a Sunday and be prepared for the whole week ahead.
So your goal for tomorrow, so yesterday we started with this kind of cutting off food at 8 p.m. Tomorrow, we want you guys to skip lunch and dinner. So this is going to be kind of a 1 meal a day format. So really you're going to have that bigger meal as your breakfast, your earlier in the meal day. And this is a reminder, tonight you will stop eating after 3 p.m. So yesterday we stopped at 8 p.m. Tonight we're going to stop at 3 p.m. So you're just skipping dinner. And then tomorrow we are going to skip lunch and dinner together. So on day 3, we will be having 1 low-carb paleo meal earlier in the day, breakfast or lunch, and fasting before and after. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking through the biggest downside of this schedule might be, you know, of course, missing out on that big social meal, which is dinner. But again, we want to encourage you guys to replace that meal with other activities, you know, useful things that you could be doing with your day. Like we talked about, make that list for yourself. It's going to be very helpful. Use the tips like getting those minerals in, getting magnesium in, you know, relaxation and parasympathetic nervous system maneuvers. All of those things are going to be your best friend for doing 1 meal a day fasting. But this is why we kind of wanted to ease you guys into that. So like I said, yesterday we were stopping at 8 p.m. Today we are going to stop at 3 p.m. So just skip dinner. And then tomorrow we are going to skip lunch and dinner together. So this will be really fun, I promise. And now we just want to allow some time again for some discussion, answer some of your guys' questions. So we are going to open up the chat again. Any questions from today's presentation or yesterday's, if you had some questions that were not answered, feel free to type those in the chat for us right now, and we're going to answer some of those. And I saw a lot of you were asking about the recording link from yesterday. We were informed that that is going to be sent out tomorrow. So keep an eye out in your email. If you missed that, you can also access it in Webinar Jam. If you have an account with Webinar Jam, you can log in there and see the webinar replay. But if you don't, the replay link will be sent tomorrow. All right.
Pam?
So someone asked about timing for probiotics. I definitely agree taking them before bed is going to be best. And you can totally take those on an empty stomach as well.
Yeah.
That is something that we are fine with our patients taking during a fasting window. And yeah, take those before bed. That has higher chances of getting down into the large intestine where those are meant to be. So definitely a good thing. Can you eat a huge meal tomorrow? So yeah, definitely. We kind of want to encourage intuitive eating too with this whole style of eating. You know, eat until you're full. Eat slowly. We do want to encourage kind of eating hygiene habits as well. So really chewing your food thoroughly, you know, taking each bite slowly. We don't want you to just be scarfing your food down because you are going to eat more than you normally would otherwise if you're doing that. So make sure that you're eating slowly, taking in your meal, relaxing. You know, don't eat in front of the TV or any other stressful stimuli. And that should encourage you to also eat more intuitively so you're not eating until you're overly full. But definitely we want you guys to eat until you're full for that one meal. So that might look different for a lot of people. You don't need to measure anything out exactly, but we just want you to feel full and feel content.
And Ruth was asking, I think I was muted earlier, but Ruth was asking about taking fat-soluble supplements with the one meal. That is great. That's encouraged. That's going to enhance your absorption. So that's great.
And Joanna asked if medications interfere with autophagy or stem cells. The answer is we don't know. I mean, it depends on the medication. There's a wide class of medication, so it depends. But it's also just that it's not like a black or white situation, meaning that there might be things that slightly pull you out of that deeper autophagy, but you're still sort of in a fasted state. Or you might not be in such a deep state if you have to take it, but it doesn't mean that you're not still getting a massive amount of benefit. So it's not like a switch, like either it's on or off. It's kind of like you can, there's a scale. So would it be even better if you didn't have to take anything? Maybe yes, but maybe no. Maybe it's not really having an impact. The research just isn't totally there. So definitely be talking to your doctor about your medications. We are definitely not doctors. We're not suggesting you go off medications for fasting. That's something that needs to be medically supervised. But look into it. Ask your pharmacist and look into whether maybe the medication you have, you thought it could only be taken with food, but maybe asking your pharmacist, you can figure out, oh, it's actually with or without food. And so I'm fine to take this while in a fasted state. And so those would be things that we recommend.
Colette asked, if you're taking probiotics at night, do you need to wait some time before taking magnesium, or can you take them together? You can take those together. Magnesium really is mostly going to affect fat absorption, so we normally suggest our patients to take it away from meals for that reason. So, probiotic does not have fat content in there, so that's totally fine.
Rebecca is looking for some recipes. So if you go to the doctorswolfson.com in the upper right-hand corner, search paleo under articles, and it's going to pull up a bunch of blog posts. I've written some of them on the best paleo recipes, but also information on paleo if you're new to it, written by Dr. Wolfson.
Mm-hmm.
Franklin asked, can we get support from you during our longer fasting periods? That's a great question. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. We're going to be talking about extended fasting if you wanted to do that going forward. And we're going to be talking about coaching going forward if you want support in that. So hang tight, Franklin. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. But I also just want to emphasize that everything we're talking about over these 3 days is something that you could do right now, and without going even further than this, you would lose weight. You would really dramatically impact your health and your heart health. So Jeff asked, what happens for eating after the 3rd day? Basically, you just continue this. So whether you eat similar to how we ate yesterday, you're just cutting out after dinner, or you want to cut out dinner, or you want to try a day where you have OMAD. You don't have to do OMAD, which is stands for 1 meal a day. You don't have to do that every single day, but maybe you do it 3 times a week. And the other days you are just, shortening your eating window to maybe 5 or 6 hours. Or maybe other days it's 8 hours that you're shortening it to. It can be flexible to get the benefits. You don't have to be eating exactly. The thing we want you to stay most consistent on is your sleep. So your sleep and wake periods and your sunshine exposure, that's going to be the biggest help for that.
So Suzanne is asking, is this a good diet if you have AFib? Yes, we actually just wrapped up our most recent 10-week group coaching AFib program. The 3 of us did, and this is a huge part of our program, is this paleo diet incorporating the fasting component. This is the best way to lower inflammation, which is really the #1 trigger of AFib, as Dr. Wolfson speaks about. It's also one of the best ways to begin to make your cells function fully again, stronger. And there's actually new research coming out on the benefits of it for AFib.
And Karen said too, sunset is at 4:45 p.m., sunrise is at 7:48. Am I supposed to sleep this long? So we actually, in the Facebook thread yesterday, one of our other health coaches, Allie, shared a link to the Spurdy sun lamp, which is a great idea for people who live in climates that don't have a lot of sunlight exposure, because in place of kind of going to bed with the sunset and waking up with the sunrise, we definitely recommend getting plenty of sunlight throughout the day. Again, we have light receptors all over our body, so this is really going to help your body to set its circadian clock appropriately, and really dimming that light exposure later in the evening. Even if you're not going to bed right when the sun goes down, use more red light exposure. Candle light is really great, natural light. Just really turn off the screens and the artificial light, or wear blue blockers, whatever you can do to really mitigate that. And being consistent with your bedtime and your rising time. So whatever time you go to bed, keep that extremely consistent. Whatever time you wake up, keep that extremely consistent, because this is also going to help your body to recognize that sleep-wake cycle that we really want to regulate and normalize, so that it's not wonky and all over the place, causing these metabolic disturbances.
Michael asked if daily defense was okay early in the morning or leave it out. It's great. And if you normally take it maybe separate from another meal and you're just adding it to your breakfast, and so it becomes kind of a large meal, that's perfect. That's exactly what we're talking about. Jane asked, when my stomach empties out, I get indigestion. How do I treat that burning feeling? So this is a really good question. You're going to want to focus on stomach acid. So it's not actually a matter of having too much stomach acid and getting that burning feeling. It's actually a matter of too little. So your body is trying to digest that food and unable to. There's a product on our website called Digest that I would suggest taking with your meals if you have this. And it will help the digestion. Also, doing some of the meditation and relaxation things, eating in not a rush state, things like that, will increase stomach acidity when you eat to stop this. But Jane, it sounds like an issue with stomach acid, and you actually need more with your meals so that when you're in a fasted state, you're digesting really well. One kind of tip to give is that if you have this issue, for some people, when they take a bunch of supplements in the fasted state, maybe it's your B vitamins or your minerals, and you have no food coming in for hours after that, you might want to take a little bit of apple cider vinegar and mix it into your water. That will increase the acidity and help your body break down those pills if you're having trouble with that. Or let's say you took a bunch of your supplements in the afternoon and you were having some kind of reflux a little bit and you weren't going to be eating anymore for the rest of the day. That would be good to take a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a glass of water and sort of increase some acidity in the stomach to help break down those capsules.
So there's a few people asking when our webinar is tomorrow. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern. So we wanted to make it available for those of you who are working. So we put it later in the day. I also have individuals asking when the 21-day program starts. So that actually starts January 11th, but stay tuned tomorrow to hear all about it. We're going to be sharing extensively on it.
Someone asked, when does the 21-day program start? That's going to start January 11th. So in about, a week after Monday, we're going to start that program together. It's going to be our next group coaching program. We have a lot of people in the chat who are past group coaching clients. So we're really excited. All of them are still joining us for these things and realize the value of that sort of a format. We are super excited about it. It's our favorite way to coach. So hopefully you guys can join us for that. But like we've mentioned, we're going to talk more about that tomorrow so you guys know the options for continuing with us.
Marissa says, I typically fast till noon, then eat till 6, usually 2 paleo meals, trying to wrap my mind around switching that to AMs. And we are with you. This is a very typical pattern for our patients, and you're already awesome and doing this. And I will say, for a couple of days, you might have ghrelin rising and making you hungry at those times you normally ate. But after a few days, you'll sort of retrain that hormone to not be hungry at that time. You'll be hungry more when you wake up and earlier in the day. But it's definitely, if you feel like, okay, well, I already eat well, I already intermittent fast, and I'm still not losing the weight I want to lose, and I'm not reaching the goals I want to, and I kind of want to up my game a little bit, shifting your schedule to the earlier part of the day is what we want you to try with us. Daryl, taking NAD plus products would be okay during a fasting period.
And Ken asked, how late can you eat the one meal? So really trying to keep it earlier in the day is our biggest goal, where, as long as it's, before probably like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m., that's going to be the best bet to keep it earlier in the day, either breakfast or lunch.
Wendy said, if you're fasting, could beet juice be part of that one meal? Absolutely. Absolutely.
So someone is asking how much bread is low carb. Again, for those of you who weren't here yesterday, we're going to ask that you go grain-free, kind of follow that paleo diet. Get your carbohydrates not from processed foods like breads and pastas, but from vegetables, which are living cellular things that are very good for your body and your gut.
So Elsa said, should I cut out berberine 500 milligrams twice daily? So if you're doing for today, you would still be able to do it. You would just maybe not have such a big gap between dosage of those supplements, which is okay. But tomorrow, yes, you would cut out that second dosage. And know that having one day without the second dosage of your supplement should be just fine. Now, if you were to do that daily, we might have to adjust things for you if you wanted to do OMAD daily. But on the other hand, doing OMAD daily might be so drastically, it would offer such huge improvements metabolically that you wouldn't need a lot of these supplements. So working with one of us coaches is definitely a way individually that we can kind of help customize that for you. But I also, just like we talked about getting rid of the fear of skipping a meal, like feeling like, am I going to be okay? You're probably going to be okay skipping, one dosage of a supplement, but that's definitely also something to just consult with your doctor or become a patient of ours so we can actually recommend that to you.
A lot of people keep asking about, eating late at night, and maybe our ancestors were sitting around a fire, eating at night. And yes, that probably did happen, but it was more of a social occurrence. So just like for us in today's day and age, dinner and nighttime meals really become a social event. So certainly, during gatherings and things like that, people are eating later at night. But our goal with this is really to make you all metabolically flexible. And that's a big concept we're going to talk about in our 21-day program is what does metabolic flexibility mean? A lot of you are probably a little bit familiar with that concept, but basically your body's ability to switch between fat for fuel and sugar and glucose for fuel. Your body can switch between the two very efficiently. So the more often we eat in this manner, which is the more frequent manner our ancestors were eating in, the better we are going to be able to handle those times when we have a later night meal or we have some carbohydrate dense meals or things like that. Your body is going to be metabolically flexible, and this is going to enhance your overall metabolic health. So that's really our biggest goal. We're not saying you can never have social gatherings for dinner or anything like that. Definitely, we want you to still have a healthy social life. That is also very important for our health and well-being. But, making sure that you are eating this way kind of more frequently than not is going to enhance your chances that you're better tolerating those meals. So that's really a big concept to take away from this too.
Anne asked if recommend doing a harder workout before breakfast or after. Will this impact muscle building? So really good question. You can do both. Both are going to be beneficial to you. You're probably going to get a better workout being in a fasted state, so doing it before the meal. But both would be great. And it does impact muscle building. And we go into the science of that in our 21-day program when we have a little more time to dive deeper into the research. But fasting does encourage or increase human growth hormone, which makes you put on muscle about 10 times the rate. So if you're practicing OMAD or intermittent fasting, you will experience some increase in human growth hormone and increase in muscle building. And it's definitely something that bodybuilders have known for a while, that now the science has caught up to why that is, where they'll fast and then they'll feast to kind of put on a bunch of muscle, and it's because of human growth hormone. Jim says, should multivitamins be taken during the fast? No, that will have vitamins in it, usually like fat soluble vitamins that cannot be taken during a fasted period. So you would take that with your meal that day.
And Linda asked, how does fasting and paleo affect those with Crohn's? This is really healing for the gut. And that's another huge reason why we love fasting. And we use it in a lot of gut healing protocols as well, is because you are giving the gut a break from digestion. So just like we were talking about with those autophagy benefits, there's a lot of cellular renewal and regeneration and cleanup happening in the gut. So this is really healing for a lot of gut disorders. So definitely is something that we would use in that sort of situation.
So Walter can't make tomorrow's presentation. He wanted to get the replay. So yes, all the replays for day 1 and day 2 will be sent out tomorrow. We'll also send out that sunshine schedule graphic. So if you want to print it out and get it via email, if you had issues on the chat today, then stay tuned for the email tomorrow.
Shani said, can you take the avoid supplements during your eating window? Yes. Sorry if that was confusing. That is exactly when you need to take them. So the avoid, it just means avoid during fasting. But otherwise, you take it during your eating window when you're having that meal. Can a diabetic take part in this challenge? Absolutely. So you're going to have to remember, we're not doctors, we're nutritionists, but we would absolutely put you on this if you were our patient, and to heal that. And we've helped many different diabetics heal this. What I would suggest is starting with the diet and starting with Shortening your eating window just after dinner. So start with the low carb kind of paleo diet first, and then start shortening that eating window a little bit slower. Especially if you're dependent on insulin, you're going to have to be monitoring blood sugar and things like that. So just have to go a little bit slower, but this is absolutely the way that you begin to heal. Ken asked, how late can you eat your meal? We're asking you guys to stop eating after 3 p.m. today.
Someone was asking about the water system that we recommend, so I just posted it in there. Pristine Hydro is our favorite water system. Really good for this way of eating and fasting too, because it remineralizes it with all the right types of minerals. And Colette, yes, this way of eating and fasting does amazing things for diabetes. Yep.
And someone wrote, will that stress your body to keep switching eating schedules daily? Good question. Fasting is a form of hormesis, which means it is a good kind of stress on our body. It's a small stressor that makes our cells and makes our body more adaptive to stress and change in our environment. So this sort of eating and kind of switching it up periodically is really great for our body and for our cells to get that adaptive response, which is one of the biggest goals of fasting, of course, too, which is why a lot of people use it more intermittently. You can do daily intermittent fasting, but then you can also throw in full day fasts, 1 meal a day fast. You can do, a monthly detox where you fast for a couple days. That is something too that we are going to be talking about for our 21-day program, as we are going to be doing a little bit more prolonged fasting with you guys. So, there's so many different variations of this, but it is really a great form of hormesis for the body, a small stressor that is going to make your body and your cells more resilient. So you kind of have to be smart about the stress that you're introducing, the period of the stress that you're introducing, and then returning your body to homeostasis, which it loves. So this is where it becomes very, science-based. This is why we are using all these research excerpts that you see in our slideshows here to really base all of this information off of that we are giving to you and putting into a program. So it's really fun and exciting. But yes, it is.
Your metabolism like that is exactly what you want. And that's how our ancestors ate. They were never eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or snacking every 2 hours in a constant fed state. So if you have days where you're fasting and then days where you're having tons of food and days where that is how our ancestors ate, and that's how we're still metabolically adapted.
Walter, this paleo and fasting regimen is actually needed for rheumatoid and psoriatic arthritis. That's a really good question. First of all, it's very anti-inflammatory. Second of all, it can help heal leaky gut, which is the root cause for both of those autoimmune type of conditions. So really good for that.
So we keep getting a question about how much protein is considered moderate. That's going to depend on whether you're having 1 meal a day or 2 meals a day. We really don't want you to stress too much about that. We're going to, it's sort of just the understanding of paleo diet as a whole, that it's much more of the portion of your plate should be, and the percentage of your plate should be fats. And a smaller percentage should be protein. And then, and so how you keep that in mind is that if you have a protein and nothing else, just add fat to it or get a fatty piece of protein. You want more fat than the protein. But otherwise, we want you guys just baby step this. Take it simple. We want you focusing on eating with the sun, getting sunshine, going to sleep earlier, and sort of adjusting your schedule to be eating most of your food earlier in the day. And if you have to take medication to go to sleep or sleep aids, do that. And it's kind of like I said, it's not black or white. It's not going to be like, okay, well, I took this sleep medication and now my fast is ruined. It's just that maybe it would be better if you didn't for your fast, but what's also really important is that you sleep. So know that sometimes you're going to have to just make adjustments. Just like a bunch of us are not going to be able to go to bed at 4:30 in the afternoon. And so we have to adjust that by getting rid of blue light in the evenings and doing our best to go to bed as early as we can. It's the same thing. Adjust where you can and do what you can. So Diane asked, what if you don't want to lose weight? How does this work as a lifestyle in regards to maintaining weight? So you have to be a little bit more careful about caloric intake, but you actually will be able to put on more muscle by fasting. And so this is definitely a strategy. Also for people that have very low insulin that can't put on weight, this is another way to heal those insulin receptor sites so that you can. I know it sounds backwards to fast to gain weight, but it's really about healing those hormonal cycles and healing the metabolism and those receptor sites so they become more sensitive. And so now that signaling can work. And now when you eat, insulin rises and tells you to gain weight. So just like it works for people that are needing to gain weight, it works for people that are needing to lose weight. It's all about the healing the hormonal cycles.
And a lot of people too, I know we've kind of touched on this, are asking about kind of exact portions of, you know, how much fat to eat, how much protein to eat, you know, lots of specific questions like this. For this 3-day program, because like we mentioned, we kind of want to keep this, you know, user-friendly, simplistic terms. We can't go into a ton of detail because we don't have that much time with you guys, unfortunately. Eat until you're full, you know, listen to your body, use those eating hygiene cues that we talked about today, eating slowly, chewing your food thoroughly, making sure you're not in front of stressful stimuli, you know, don't drink a ton of water with your meals, things like that, which are really going to help you listen to your body's cues of when you are full and when to stop eating. You shouldn't have an issue of overeating or gorging yourself if you are eating healthily like that. You know, protein moderately, you know, think about maybe just like a fist-sized portion, something that is kind of more typical, not like it's taking up most of your plate. But again, in the 21-day program, we are going to get very specific with those things because we are going to provide you with an extremely detailed meal guide with what to eat, when to eat, literally all those questions answered. So if that's something you guys are interested in and really want that additional support and guidance, it is coming.
And we are going to encourage you over the next 2 days to kind of avoid snacking. But if you absolutely need a snack during that eating window, reach for a fatty snack. So reach for an avocado, reach for, I know a lot of our patients like the Wild Planet brand, you know, wild caught salmon or something, or sardines. I think Walter said, yeah, he said Carrington is responsible for my sardine addiction. So we love those fatty types of snacks because, again, they're not going to spike insulin. So if you do need something, reach for that.
And just to reiterate, so yesterday we stopped eating at 8 p.m. Today we are going to stop eating at 3 p.m. So technically we're kind of skipping dinner today. And then tomorrow we are going to skip lunch and dinner. So just to kind of reiterate the protocol we're following here so everyone's on the same page. Today, just make sure you have your last meal before 3 p.m.
Lori asks, what do you recommend for those with severe adrenal fatigue? So the sunshine schedule is the absolutely most important plan for someone with adrenal fatigue. Making sure you get plenty of sleep, making sure as soon as you wake up, you get sunshine into your eyes. Exercising early in the morning would be key. A high protein, high caloric intake early in the morning is going to help that, and to lower stress. So doing the meditations and deep breathing and the baths and all those things we suggested earlier is going to be really good. If you experience some hyperglycemic symptoms in the later part of the day, remember, go back to our tips about mineral-rich water and getting enough minerals and electrolyte replacements to help with those symptoms. But it's definitely, this is the most healing thing. We were just, as coaches, discussing a patient, what was it, last week, guys, who had been on a ton of herbs to try to heal adrenal fatigue. And we're like, let's just, and it really messed them up. Not that herbs mess you up, but for this patient, they had kind of trialed and erred a lot in that area. And we just said, stop all of it and get sun and get sleep and start to heal circadian rhythm, and you'll feel a lot better.
And someone asked if it's okay to take Optilipid without food. Yes, that is one of our favorite fasting supplements. So that one is fine to take. It's mostly antioxidants in there, some plant extracts, so that you can take away from food. That's totally fine.
Carol said that I can follow this no problem, but my husband will most likely not be on board. So that's a big issue as far as meal planning. I definitely understand. And like we said, we acknowledge that this is socially, that's probably the hardest part of this. Now know that it's just for these 3 days, and going forward, you might have some nights a week that you are, shortening your eating window, and some nights that you don't. And also you're cutting out a meal, not just moving it. So you could still prepare food for your family. I have 4 small children, so I still have to make food for them. I'm not going to make them fast with me for dinners and things like that. We acknowledge it's difficult and can be challenging. Know that there's a lot of flexibility there, and also just start to think outside the box. Maybe it's okay that we go to social things and we don't eat, and we just say, no, thank you, and not that we always have to do that, but sometimes we do. And it depends on our goals. And like, I think it was Christina was talking about this, like scheduling out what days you're going to fast, what days you're not, can be really helpful, like taking a full calendar and just writing the schedules on each day that you want to do. All right. I think we've answered a lot. We could probably be here for like 3 more hours. But we are going to be back tomorrow. We're going to be talking about extended fasting, about the Happy Heart Diet program. Hopefully you guys will be hanging with us. We know you'll have been fasted most of the day by the time we talk to you. So we're going to maybe try to make it exciting so you don't fall asleep on us. But we are really excited to chat with you guys tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, and good luck today. You can do it.
Yeah. Have a great Sunday, everyone.
Yes, have a good day.
Relaxation activities, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.
Bye.